You're too fat to be my kid. Get lost, you pig. Kyle shouted, and I stepped in to shield Lucas. Look, if you won't accept Lucas as your own, I'll take him in. A few days later, I found out that Lucas had appeared on TV, and two people came to our house. Lucas, let's go home with us. To this, Lucas replied. Who are you guys? I am Carol. Ever since I lost my husband a few years ago, I've been living alone. Living alone in a big house was lonely. Having no particular hobbies, my days were drearily uneventful. Even I had one thing I looked forward to. That was meeting my grandson, Lucas. Spending time with my lovely grandson Lucas was the only solace in my life. My son, Kyle, and his wife, Amelia, ran a strip club together. It seemed to thrive, as they were always busy. They had a baby a few years after getting married. Apparently, they had plans to have a daughter and make her the face of their business. They started hoarding baby items for a girl even before they could confirm its gender, pinning their hopes on having a daughter. However, the baby turned out to be a boy, and their disappointment was immense when they found out. I optimistically thought that once the baby was born, they would grow to love him regardless. But that didn't happen. Kyle and Amelia showed little interest in the baby and rarely took care of him. They hardly even bothered to think of a name. Impatient, I suggested some names, and they chose Lucas from my list. Still, Kyle and Amelia never really showed any interest in Lucas. Hoping for a daughter next, but they never had another child. Gradually, Amelia began to harbor resentment towards Lucas. It's all your fault our plans were ruined because you weren't a girl. Such misplaced hatred seemed to have taken root in Amelia. Influenced by her, Kyle also began treating Lucas coldly. Perhaps if I had intervened sooner, things might not have escalated. Eventually, Amelia stopped cooking for Lucas. She would leave $5 on the table every day before heading to work and wouldn't return until nearly morning. From evening to night, young Lucas spent long hours alone. How lonely he must have felt, waiting alone for his parents to return. With the money Amelia left, Lucas would buy his meals from shops. Being so young, he didn't think about nutrition and often ended up eating snacks like bread and potato chips. He even ate discarded food on occasion. A child visiting a store alone every day inevitably drew attention. A part-time worker, feeling sorry for Lucas, would secretly share some food with him. Thanks to this, even on days Amelia didn't leave money, Lucas had something to eat. By third grade, Lucas weighed over 154 pounds. This was the result of his unhealthy diet of bread, ready-made meals, and snacks. Kyle and Amelia disliked that too. After Lucas had gained weight, they began to hurl cruel words at him. A fatty like you is not my child. Get out of here. You're in my way. When I learned that these words had been said to him, I was heartbroken. What must Lucas have felt, hearing such things from his father? Worried about Lucas, I occasionally checked on him by visiting his home. I had a nagging suspicion that Kyle and Amelia resented Lucas, judging from their tone. That's why I would visit their house, to make sure they weren't doing anything terrible to him. One day, my fears unfortunately proved true. You're too fat to be my kid. Get lost, you pig. As I opened the door, Kyle's shouting filled my ears. In a panic, I rushed towards the voice and saw Lucas on the floor. From the way he was holding his cheek, it was clear Kyle had hit him. Kyle? What are you doing? I ran to Lucas's side and pulled him away to protect him from Kyle. Looking at Lucas, his face was vacant, and he seemed to have resigned himself to his fate. I regretted making such a young child wear such a defeated expression. Kyle hadn't noticed me arrive, his eyes were wide as if he was about to burst. Do you even realize what you're saying? Lucas is your child, legitimately. I shouted at Kyle. Although Kyle is my own son, I could not understand his way of thinking. It was unbelievable how they could mistreat Lucas, an innocent child, just because he wasn't the daughter they wanted. If you won't acknowledge Lucas as your own child, then I will take him. Both Lucas and Kyle looked stunned by my sudden words. Then, things moved quickly. Kyle and Amelia, eager to rid themselves of the burden, jumped at my offer. Thanks, Mom. This way, we can focus on the business, right, Amelia? Yes, truly, thank you. On the day I took Lucas, they said this with the brightest smiles I had ever seen on their faces. Their smiles saddened me. It made clear just how little they cherished Lucas. I had watched over him, thinking that being with his biological parents was best for him, but I deeply regretted not taking him away sooner. On the way to my house, Lucas said, "Sorry. I'll grow up fast and move out." What was this child saying? When I asked him to repeat, Lucas said with a blank expression, "You're regretting taking me in, aren't you? You've been looking scared since we left." Was I making such a face? Lucas nodded sadly. "No, that's not it. I was regretting not doing this sooner. I should have abandoned the belief that you'd be happier with your real parents much earlier. No, my regret wasn't about taking Lucas in. I regretted not separating him from those two sooner. Aren't you bothered by me?" Lucas looked at me with anxious eyes. I hugged him tightly. "Of course not. I'm confident I love you more than those two ever could." Lucas looked unsure of what to do. After being stiff as a rock for a while, he whispered, "This is the first time I've been hugged." Tears overflowed from my eyes. I will definitely make him happy. I made up my mind. From that day on, Lucas became noticeably more lively. It was hard to believe he was the same boy who had once been so withdrawn. He started to laugh more and talk more. Every day after school, he would help with dinner preparations and happily talk about his day. "You seem happy today, Lucas. Did something good happen? Did you know? Something funny happened today. During music class, while I was singing, a sparrow flew into the music room and Ms. Lofton totally freaked out. I wondered why, and then she said she's terrified of birds, almost crying." Remembering the incident, Lucas chuckled. Such Lucas was so cute and adorable. Perhaps because he's been eating healthier since he came to live with me, Lucas's physique has become more standard. He retains the adorable qualities of a child, but his features have sharpened, making him look handsome. He shyly told me that girls at school have started talking to him more. Lucas seemed happy every day, and I felt relieved seeing him like this. It was the day of our first parents' meeting since I took custody of Lucas. Ms. Lofton, Lucas's teacher, made a suggestion. "Why don't we have him take an IQ test at a hospital?" Her proposal made me anxious. It felt as though she was implying there was something wrong with Lucas's intelligence. Is Lucas lagging behind his peers in some way? As I asked this, the teacher hurriedly waved her hands. "Not at all, it's quite the opposite. From my experience, I think Lucas might be gifted." Gifted, a term unfamiliar to me. According to Ms. Lofton, gifted refers to individuals who inherently possess higher abilities compared to their peers. She handed me a paper. This is a graph showing Lucas's grades. There's a clear spike in his performance at one point. Indeed, the graph showed a sudden improvement. Looking at the dates on the horizontal axis, it was clear the change occurred shortly after I took Lucas in. I asked Lucas if he had started attending cram school because of the unusual spike. But no. It turns out he was deliberately trying not to score well before. Confused by what Ms. Lofton was saying, I looked at Lucas beside me. Noticing my gaze, Lucas spoke up. "Back at the old house, if they knew I was doing well, they wouldn't like it. They'd say I was being cheeky and hit me more than usual." Lucas shrugged. "So during tests, I deliberately not write answers or write them wrong. But actually, I knew all of it." Lucas grinned. "Now, there's no need for that, so I just take the tests normally. It's too easy and kind of boring, though. I can understand everything just by reading the textbooks, it's not interesting. I want to study something more challenging." Saying this, Lucas sighed. Worried that Ms. Lofton might feel offended by such comments, I glanced at her, but she was laughing heartily, so I felt relieved. "What do you think? If Lucas is gifted, we might be able to provide support tailored to his needs. Why not try the test at the hospital? If it would benefit Lucas." With that thought, I decided to take Lucas to the hospital that week. Indeed, from his behavior at school and home, and the results of the IQ test, it's possible that Lucas is gifted. The doctor clearly stated. Lucas's IQ was much higher than average, and I was surprised. I had no idea Lucas was so intelligent. No wonder he found schoolwork so easy. To fulfill Lucas's wish for more challenging studies, I arranged for a tutor to come to our home. The tutor, an experienced teacher who graduated from a prestigious university, understood Lucas's unique traits. Lucas was pleased, finding these studies more enjoyable than school. Following the tutor's recommendation, Lucas took various language and certification exams, scoring top marks in all. When the tutor posted about his top student on social media, it quickly went viral. Lucas became an overnight sensation, and soon newspapers and TV stations were seeking interviews. One day, as I was spending a typical day with Lucas, the doorbell rang. "Oh, are the reporters here already?" There was still about 30 minutes until the scheduled interview time. Thinking it was the reporters, I opened the door, only to be surprised. "Long time, no see, Mom. We've come to pick up Lucas." Kyle and Amelia were there. "What are you doing here?" When I asked, Amelia smiled sweetly and said, "Mom, thank you for taking care of Lucas until now. From now on, he will live with us." I couldn't believe my ears. What is this woman talking about now? You must be joking? Lucas has an interview coming up. We're very busy, so please leave. The word interview made Kyle and Amelia's eyes light up. So it really was Lucas. We saw him on TV. Truly, he is our son. The two exchanged looks, visibly excited. Then they said something outrageous. "If Lucas comes back, our business will be secure." Beside Kyle, Amelia nodded in agreement. "If customers come for Lucas, our sales will increase. We can even leave the business to him in the future. That way, we can relax." Their selfish thinking astounded me. After claiming Lucas wasn't their child, now they want him back because he's proved to be exceptional? Lucas isn't owned by his parents. I had reached my breaking point. Just as I was about to give them a piece of my mind, Lucas appeared behind me. Seeing Lucas, Kyle and Amelia's faces lit up with smiles. Their smiling faces only intensified my irritation. However, their smiles shattered with Lucas's next words. "Who are you?" Lucas asked, staring directly at them. The two were visibly confused. "Who?" "We're your mom and dad, sweetheart. You're our beloved son that I gave birth to." Amelia's words made me feel sick. How could she say he's her beloved son? Just as I was about to retort, Lucas chuckled softly. "My only parent is my grandma here. I don't know any of you who abandoned me," Lucas stated firmly. "Lucas? That person is your grandma, not your parent. Let's go home with us," Kyle gently persuaded. Lucas glared at Kyle. "My home is here with my grandma. She gave me love, unlike you two. You threw me away, and when you think you can use me, you come to take me back? You're not my parents." It was the first time I had heard Lucas raise his voice like this. Kyle and Amelia's faces contorted. An irritated Kyle reached out to grab Lucas's arm. As I was about to intervene, a voice from behind Kyle called out. "Is that true what you just said?" "Abandoned." The journalists, with solemn expressions, gathered around in a group. They were here for Lucas's interview. It must have been the scheduled time already. The journalists surrounded Kyle and Amelia. They pointed their cameras at them and rapidly fired questions. Caught off guard, the two were just flustered. Later, this interview was broadcast on TV. The tragic past of a genius boy confronting the parents who abandoned him. The sensational title had a huge impact. Kyle and Amelia were slammed on social media, and their business received numerous angry calls. Rejection of a child simply because he's not a girl is unthinkable. Don't treat your child as a convenience. Such calls came in one after another, and many people gathered to see the faces of these terrible parents. Naturally, the situation made it impossible to conduct business as usual at the strip club. Amelia, in trouble, sought help from her parents, but their response was cold. "You sowed this, now reap it. We won't help someone who abandons their own child." Kyle and Amelia were scorned and abandoned by everyone. They were upset, wondering why this was happening to them, but it was clearly their own doing. It would be nice if this incident led them to change their ways, but considering their behavior, that seems unlikely. After the incident, Lucas and I moved away immediately. I want to cut ties with those two. I can't stand this happening over and over. Respecting Lucas's wishes, I moved us far away to ensure those two could never approach him again. While it would have been ideal to take legal action, it appears difficult to sever ties with blood-related parents, even after an adoption. At his new school, Lucas made a good friend. This friend seems to be a great understanding companion. They bring their homemade programming projects home, enthusiastically explaining their nuances. While I don't quite grasp Lucas's intricate interests, this friend does, nodding and listening intently. Occasionally, they delve deep into discussions about programming. Seeing Lucas always so happy, I truly felt it was right to have moved here. Thanks to meeting such a good friend, Lucas is living happily and freely every day. Going forward, I hope they continue to support each other and live well together.